Good morning everyone, I'm the dude over there and this is it. 16 parts in the making, but this is it. The Unova region, known for being the black sheep of Pokemon and the one that introduces PETA into their world. Black and White, to me at least, was always the hardest region. Partly because of the whole new dex thing, but also because enemy AI feels much stronger and complex with the tools it has. Maybe I'm just imagining it, but I always had a harder time with Black and White compared to the other games. So will this mean our run-ins here, or will this be the end of the series altogether? Find out now. So waking up on my 10th birthday, I meet with a box of all new Pokemon and my best friends Sharon and Bianca begging me to pick a starter. By the way, if this video comes out so much later than expected, no, it's because I had to redraw like so many new Pokemon. So we picked the best early game starter, Tepig, and proceed to beat up Bianca and Sharon in my room. I could have gone with Oshawott since water type Pokemon in Unova are, well, not great, but I chose Tepig for its advantages later on. From here we go to visit the professor and, hold on, the professor is a woman? How did this game not sell well? Anyway, Juniper tells us to fill the Pokedex, and as much as I want to tell her to piss off, Sharon and Bianca tell me to be nice. We all make our way to Route 1 where we all come to the agreement that we all suck at catching Pokemon. While Bianca is out buying some potions for the next route, me and Sharon attend a nice rally held by the world's most evil looking man. He talks about releasing Pokemon or something, but I totally blanked out and wasn't paying much attention. But my Tepig is happy with me. Aren't you fat nuggets?
I want to die.
After the people leave, this weird guy with green hair comes and talks to us. I think he's like 15. Hold on, give me a second. He's 20 years old? Wait a minute. I'm not 10? This is a lot to take in. While I process this, my dad and Fat Nuggets defeat En's Purloin and he storms off, talking about bringing his ideals to light. But with En's departure, Sharon decides to dip and train on his own, like a true rival. Bianca, however, wants a battle, and after a firm thrashing, we make it to Stratton City. We obtain a free monkey from a lady that we use to help defeat Sharon, and unlike our rivals from before, Sharon offers us some berries to help us with the gym. Wow, thanks man, I appreciate it. The gym leader in Stratton City is Silent, from the Pokemon anime, but he's not alone. He's joined by his brothers? Co-workers? Whatever they are, they're his partners Chili and Cress. The gimmick at the gym is that it's supposed to teach you about type matchups by having you face off against the leader that has a stronger type compared to your starter. Honestly, it's a much better way of getting this across than say Galar that wastes 3 gyms to deliver the same concept. You could try and take the straightforward approach with this gym and fight with your Patrat, Lillipup, and starter. Or you could circumvent the difficulty with the monkey in the Dream Yard. They always give you the type that's weak to your starter, who also happens to be strong against the gym. And with quick work, we beat the gym. On our way to Nakreen for Gym 2, those peaceful protesters from before are trying to convey Pokemon cruelty to trainers by actually committing Pokemon abuse. Man, they really are PETA. We save a mana for Bianca and team up with Sharon to defeat some in a cave and begin to prepare for our first great roadblock. Unlike the other Pokemon regions, Unova has a ton of make it or break it moments in the game that you need to be ready for. One of these just so happens to be oh, yeah. Alright, so yeah, you fight N in Nakreen. He's not really a threat, just some weirdo who lives in La La Land. Anyway, as I was trying to say, the first of these major roadblocks is Lenora. She's an early normal type gym, and if was any indicator of how hard normal type gyms are in the early game, Lenora takes it one step further. Not only does she have a Herdier who hits like a tuned up isekai truck, she follows up with a Watchog with Retaliate. Retaliate doubles in power if used after a Pokemon that faints. The only thing that could possibly survive an attack like that is Roggenrola, thanks to its normal resist. But unfortunately, we don't get that lucky and instead find a useless Drillbur we name Horsepower. We could try and get a sock or something at Pinwheel Forest, but there are some better encounters we could get if we wait. So we face off against Lenora with our party of 4. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, I usually throw a Pokemon into daycare whenever we reach a given region, and since we don't have many options, I threw Pepto-Bismol, the pet rat, into the daycare to see how much stronger he would get. This will probably not get brought up later in the script. Fat Nugget shows his worth immediately by learning Arm Thrust, which quickly removes Herdier before it can cause too much trouble. Then Watchog comes out. I send in Bush, the Pansage, to hopefully use Leech Seed before dying, but Watchog is faster and kills Bush with Retaliate.
It's starting! We have to finish the game quickly before it gets a hold of us and destroys us all! Dude, keep it together! Get a grip on yourself! You're underreacting! Thanks, man! I needed that! I got a bit cold for a second, but now I realize how serious this is!
We're in a tough spot, but despite me calling it useless before, Horsepower brings the, well, horsepower by two-shotting Watchog with Dig, getting us the basic badge. PETA decides that no one is taking them seriously and decides to rob a museum to spread their message. Lenora and the 3rd gym leader, Berg, decide to hunt them down, and you gotta help them. I mean, you as in me. Fuck, that didn't work. We chase them down to Pinwheel Forest and recoup our losses at the gym with a Swaddle we named Real G. We immediately evolve Real G into Leavanny as we face off against more PETA activists. We eventually corner them and retrieve the stolen Dragon Skull and make our way to New York City for the 3rd gym. We quickly capture a Moxie Sandile, which we name Hannah, and raid the 3rd gym. The gym is based on bug types, and Fat Nuggets and Super Suit the Tranquil easily slap all the trainers in the gym. Berg as a leader feels like a nice breather before the next big challenge. His Whirlipede is a big nothing and Dwebble comes out. I use Horsepower again, this time holding an Eviolite, to get rid of Dwebble with her Metal Claw, and by the time his Levany comes out, Fat Nuggets can come on in and easily stomp with Flame Charge. After a short battle with Charon, we come across the famous desert that lies above New York, and make our way to Relic Castle. We don't plan to make our descent yet, but we pick up a fossil for regeneration. I don't have a water type yet, so I figure what better time than now with Caracosta. Anyway, we make it to Nimbasa City where we come across N again. He shoves us into a ride and reveals that he is the upcoming CEO of PETA and wants to ensure Pokemon cruelty is a thing of the past by removing them from bad trainers. To ensure we are a good trainer, and to help his goons get away, N uses his superpowers to summon the local Pokemon to fight for him. His Pokemon have been kinda crappy up until now, so there's no threat of us losing a Pokemon now. And if you know me, this is a part of the video where I reveal that someone got killed because of N's Pokemon. In this case, it was our fresh-faced Turtoga that we got as a fossil. Whatever, before we could catch any new Pokemon, we had to see the climax of Bianca's arc, where she and Elsa tells her dad to stop being a helicopter parent. Elisa's gym is a tough electric gym. Her party consists of 2 Emolgas and a Zebstrika, who all know Volt Switch. Using a ground type to KO is ineffective since Zebstrika is the only one who takes super effective damage. However, trying to use any other type will lead to KOs with Volt Switch spam. Fortunately for us, we had a plan. Horsepower just recently learned Hone Claws, and since Emolga couldn't prioritize its best move on her, we could set up Hone Claws and pray Static doesn't proc with a +6 physical attack. And we get lucky, we KO both of our Emolga, and thanks to our Eviolite, we tank Zebstrika's attacks while we heal up Horsepower, allowing us to get the Bolt badge from Elisa after a single dig. From here, the champion Alder finally makes his appearance, as he teaches me and Charon the importance of finding out the purpose behind our strength. Charon says that just being strong is fine enough for him, and as for me, I need to get strong to ensure my Pokemon don't die in this hellscape of a region. Which brings us to our next big hurdle in the run, Clay. His Palpitoad and Krokorok aren't that concerning to me since Real G can easily dispose of them. But the same can't be said about his Excadrill. It's a mean mother yucker and has coverage to protect him from anything that isn't a water type. My plan was to use a Ducklet I caught on the bridge to take out the Croc, Real G for the Palpitoad, and use Band the Yamask holding the Eviolite to burn him. However, the Unova region has unanimously decided that I can't have a water type for my run and has Manster killed due to confusion. And before I move on, am I the only one who feels like the confusion status is just the worst in Unova? Like, if my Pokemon fall into the 10% range while confused, I know they're gonna die. Meanwhile, if I'm not in the 10% range, the game will constantly make me hit myself regardless, because I was stupid enough to not carry full heals or full restores. Anyway, Clay immediately switches into Excadrill after we defeat the Krokorok, and we switch into Band. Thankfully we set up the burn, but he already hits his +2 Hone Claws. I didn't think Band was going to survive, so we kept her in to do as much damage as she could before dying. But Band actually carried us. She took all of Excadrill's moves and stuck around to trade blows, and thanks to her Nightshade, we managed to take down the colossal threat. One Razor Leaf later, and we obtain the Quake badge from Clay and move on to Chargestone Cave. We encounter N again in Chargestone Cave, where he proceeds to scold Professor Juniper about the Pokedex. And while I'm supposed to hate N here, or think what he's saying is somewhat profound, I just completely agree with what he's saying. Only because I hate having to carry this stupid brick with me and being forced to complete it. But after leaving Chargestone Cave, we need to start prepping for Skyla. We could catch Joltik or Tynamo in Chargestone Cave, but our encounter was a Clink. So, we're out of luck, right? Well, wrong. We actually find a perfectly good Zebstrika in the grass that's already near the level cap. If we can buff it up with some illegal substances, there's a chance we may be able to use it to defeat Skyla. So we storm the Celestial Tower, make use of an exploit to make sure we run into as few battles as possible, and approach Skyla, and all it took was Vinny spamming Spark to crush Skyla. N tries to question Vinny if we're a bad trainer, and after revealing a Switchblade I have on me, Vinny tells N that I'm such a great trainer, like top 10, and to make sure it stays this way, Vinny spends the rest of his time in the box. Sharon challenges us to another battle, but Alder breaks it up to hand deliver us Surf.
Whoa! This is worthless.
We don't have any water types to make use of Surf in or out of battle, so this HM is useless. Man, if only I had a fishing rod. Oh wait, you don't get that till post-game, because we wouldn't want to give our players the overpowered encounter Basculin. But I won't let that stop me. I take out my deceased turtle and have Band and Fat Nuggets help me paddle to Mistralton Cave. See, there is a powerful encounter we can get here. An early legendary Pokemon in the form of Cobalion. He's got a pretty good move in the form of Sacred Sword, but more importantly, if I lose Horsepower or Fat Nuggets, he provides a good swap with his Steel and Fighting typing. So 3 Dusk Balls, 1 Heal Ball, 1 Nest Ball, and over a dozen Ultra Balls later, we finally catch Kilogram the Cobalion. Upon arriving in Icarus City, we trade Band the Pokemon with a band name with Palpitoad when trying to catch it in the rain. Well, at least we got a freaking water type. We spend some time teaching TMs before heading into the Ice Gym. Theoretically, this should be the easiest gym since Ice has so many weaknesses. And you'd be right. Even Horsepower, who has a neutral resistance to Ice, can set up against Bryson's Vanillish and sweep the team with Metal Claw. But right after we obtain the Freeze badge, PETA finally makes its next move and attacks Dragon Spiral Tower. And for once, it's actually interesting, since I finally have an internal monologue, something future generations are too afraid to do. Well, this place is a cakewalk. All of PETA are weak to stop us, and they ramble about something N is doing at the top of the tower. It couldn't be that bad. Oh. I don't have a Master Ball yet, but N actually reveals that this is the epitome of his ideals, and leaves with Zekrom. Man, I should have tried using a Quick Ball or something. Could have prevented the third act from happening. My bad. So this raises some concern for the masses. An antagonist who has a god and we're all fucked trying to stand against him. What about Horsepower? What do you mean? Well, Horsepower is a ground steel type. Ground is immune to his signature attack Fusion Bolt, and based on his moves in the wiki, it resists all the other attacks. Oh, I get it. Hold on 1 second. Bad! Get out of here! Sorry about that. Anyway, we get a white rock, and my new plan is to knock out N with this thing, and steal Zekrom. N doesn't use Pokeballs because of the whole PETA thing, so if I use a Quick Ball, I should manage to get Zekrom. Before we can resolve that plot though, we need to finish the gym challenge and sequentially the Elite Four. However, the last gym leader is our last big gym roadblock. Drayden uses Dragon types, and while I could deal with this with an Ice type or setting up, I really can't. The only Ice types available in Unova is Vanillish unless I wait for the winter rotation. But even then, Druddigon has Revenge for pesky Ice types, and his whole team has Dragon Tail to prevent people like me from setting up. Oh, and did I mention 2 of his 3 Pokemon have Dragon Dance? So if we can't defeat him fast enough, we'll be fresh meat for his Haxors. But then it hit me. There was only one way to kill Drayden's team. Horsepower was gonna have to use 1 Swords Dance and pray that she could kill all his dragons with Earthquake. Druddigon would only be a problem if it survived and then went for Revenge. It would hit Horsepower super effectively, and, well, I don't think she would make it. Likewise, if we run out of PP for Earthquake before reaching the Haxors, we have to rely on non-stab moves like Slash or Shadow Claw for the kill. So, how did it turn out? So turn 1 we use Swords Dance, and Fracture begins setting up. However, because he wanted that +2, we kill Fracture with an Earthquake. Druddigon comes out next, and Earthquake one-shots as well. Finally is Haxorus. Haxorus also tries setting up D-Dance, but just like the rest, with a single EQ, we beat Drayden and obtain the Legend Badge. With our final badge, we face Sharon one last time and progress to the Elite Four. Before challenging them, we fly back to Nakreen to see if we can catch Virizion before the Elite Four. However, in my quick button mashing, I accidentally run away from it, leaving me with Real G as my only grass type. The Elite Four are no joke in this region. Like, in prior generations, you usually had one threat during the Elite Four challenge. Lance and Kanto, Koga or Karen and Johto, Glacia and Hoenn, or Lucian and Sinnoh. But in Unova, all the elites are a threat. Let's just take Marshall for example. He's a fighting specialist, so a flying type or psychic type might be the best option. However, his coverage on these guys actively counters those types. All of his Pokemon have a counter to flying types with a strong rock move, and 2 of its Mons have psychic coverage in the form of Payback and U-Turn. It makes it a challenge to stay in with any one Mon, so who we face along with who we bring are gonna matter a whole lot. But nonetheless, we enter the Elite Four and begin with Grimsley. Grimsley leads with Scrafty, and we lead with Supersuit the Pheasant. We plan to take it out quickly with Fly. However, he survives and uses Sand Attack. After a second Sand Attack, we have to switch to remove the accuracy debuffs, and lucky for us, Fat Nuggets manages not to die as he's hit with another Sand Attack. Supersuit manages to defeat the Scrafty, switching back in, but then Crocodile comes out. We switch into Pal, the Seismitoad, and launch an attack with Scald. Scald doesn't kill, and Pal takes a huge hit from Stab EQ. I have a feeling he's going to use EQ again, so I switch into Supersuit. I predict correctly and I'm able to knock out the Crocodile next turn. From there, we throw Pal back out to face off against Liepard. I sent her out to recover some HP with Drain Punch, but in the end I ended up using a Hyper Potion instead. But once Liepard goes down, we spam Drain Punch until Grimsley's ace is defeated. From there, we move on to Caitlyn. She uses Psychic types and trying to use a Steel or Dark type could land us in some hot water. So my plan is to use Real G holding the Silver Powder to do some damage. Unfortunately, he can't stick around long enough because Sigilif comes out next. We swap into Horsepower and in a familiar play, we set up 1 Swords Dance before causing mass destruction with Shadow Claw. With Caitlyn done, we jump towards Marshall and I actually come up with a plan I would have never considered normally. And it's actually not using a damaging move or setting up, it's instead lowering the opponent's stats. We didn't teach Will-O-Wisp to anyone, but Supersuit had Feather Dance, which dropped an opponent's attack stat by 2 stages. All of Marshall's Pokemon leaned on the attack stat, so after plaguing them with attack drops, Vernius the Gothitelle and Supersuit could come in and destroy our foes. But that leaves Chantal, the Ghost Elite. I don't know how hard Grassnot will hit Horsepower, so I lead with Supersuit and try to KO them with Air Slash. However, after a Psychic lands, Supersuit falls in battle. Rest in peace, soldier. You aided us well. From there, the banned Pokemon's HP was low enough for me to kill with a Shadow Claw. I want to keep Horsepower in, but Chandelure is next, and I don't need any more losses. Pal comes in to kill Chandelure, and Real G comes in to take out the remaining Jellicent with Stab boosted Leaf Blade. I'm just about ready to face the champion, but then the story goes full swing as N beats Alder and has PETA set up their base around the league. Sharon, along with all the leaders from before, come to help us. Well, all except Crest, Chili, and Silent. I'm sorry, but why didn't they come as well? You could have overpowered PETA if you had all three of them. Like, what the fuck? Oh, but bring in Lenoir, like she's gonna do anything. Anyway, we restore our Pokemon and properly bury Super Suit in the box before reaching N's throne. Alright, now all I gotta do is check this rock at N and... Well, alrighty then. So we awaken to our Persona of Truth and use it to lead off against N. I scroll the wiki and realize Zekrom doesn't have a Dragon type move, so I spend this turn and next turn killing Zekrom with Dragon Breath. The rest of N's Pokemon are simple. Use Real G to kill the Caracosta, Seismitoad to protect the Zoroark, and Sweep with a +2 horsepower using Metal Claw and Earthquake. My Persona overpowers N's ideals, but before N can properly surrender, his dad comes in to defeat us once and for all. Man, what a great dad. Surely there's nothing sinister going on behind his motives or anything. So Getsis, the real leader of PETA, comes to end the run himself, and fun fact, his team is built to counter N's team. Neat. Anyway, my Persona is just strong enough to take out the band lead. But we need to switch before things get out of hand. We switch into Pal as he sends out Bouffalon, and the fight is tough. Pal sacrifices herself to ensure Bouffalon's defeat to recoil. Thus, it proves that I can never have a water type on my team. Real G has to step in to protect Horsepower from a Seismitoad that Getsis sends in, but that leads to a real scary Pokemon on Getsis' team. Hydreigon. A great special attacker that has coverage for a lot of the Pokemon on my team. Dragon Pulse for my Persona, Surf for Fat Nuggets and Horsepower, and Flamethrower for Real G. I think this is about where the run ends, but then I realized something. Despite being a Dark type, Hydreigon has no Dark moves, which means I can safely switch in Vernius. Vernius can only kill Hydreigon with Shadow Ball, and can increase the damage with Fake Tears. However, a single crit from Dragon Pulse will kill Vernius. Our win and lose conditions are set, and we face off in an intense battle of wills. And after what feels like forever, Vernius comes through and lands a critical hit to seal Hydreigon's fate. With his loss, the tides turn towards our favor. We switch in Horsepower and set up with Sword Stance, and with +4 attack, we slam Getsis' remaining Pokemon with Earthquake and Shadow Claw. With that, Getsis' team is taken into custody, and N embarks on a new journey to grow, and hopefully awaken to his true persona. This seems like the end, isn't it? But no. Technically, we need to become champion in order to beat the Nuzlocke. But now that we've beaten the story, the regional dex is unlocked. Awesome. And our next level goal is 77. Mind you, we were level 54 for Getsis. Awesome. So while I scout out our final encounters and begin leveling up the team, I'll dive into our final team for Unova. Hold on, wait. How is Pepto-Bismol? Oh, he's level 33? Alright, anyway. Leading the charge is our partner Fat Nuggets, the blazing Emboar with Bulldoze, Flamethrower, Heat Crash, and Strength. Following him is our powerhouse Horsepower, the sand-rushing Excadrill, with Earthquake, Shadow Claw, Sword Stance, and Metal Claw. Next we have the OG Real G Chlorophyll Heavenly Vanny with Aerial Ace, Swords Dance, X-Scissor, and Leaf Blade. And after that is the Dragon Slaying Frisky Vernius, the Gothitelle with Fake Tears, Shadow Ball, Psychic, and Psyshock. And new to the squad is Fish, the Cursed Pringle looking Jellicent with Surf, Scald, Ice Beam, and Shadow Ball. And finally, it's the Shedding Pants Moxie, the Scrafty with Work Up, Brick Break, Crunch, and Chip Away. If you think the Elite Four got any easier with the story over, you'd be dead wrong. With the full regional decks at their disposal, the Elites become even more terrifying, and we haven't even discussed Alder. But this time, I realized I could possibly sweep these Elites easier than before. I had Real G relearn Sword Stance for Protect, and thanks to Marshall leading with Breloom, we could set up and sweep with Aerial Ace. Moxie took charge during the Caitlyn fight, and used Work Up to sweep her team with Crunch. Grimsley was next, and Moxie and Horsepower needed to work together in order to clear out the squad. But Chantal, man, this girl had come back with a vengeance. Like before, we used Moxie to set up and take out her team, and after crushing 3 foes back to back, Chantal sends in Drifblim. Drifblim snipes Moxie from 75% with a critical hit Acrobatics. We managed to recover thanks to Horsepower, but that leaves us with 5 Pokemon for Alder. Alder is mostly a Bug-type champion, with Volcarona as his ace. There are no easy mons to set up on, and so we had to rely on our guts to defeat him and pray we don't lose anyone vital along the way. He leads with Excelgor, and I lead with Fat Nuggets. One Heat Crash later, and it's Bouffalant versus Fish. This was my best switch I could think of, and if we lose Fish here, it will make the Volcarona fight even worse. We defeat Bouffalant, but taking heavy damage in the process. Volcarona comes out next, and with 2 Surfs, we stop it from setting up and sweeping. With Volcarona's death, the game was ours. Fat Nuggets destroys Vanillish and Escavalier with Heat Crash, and Fish destroys Druddigan with Ice Beam. The league was ours, and we could finally let the names of our comrades be marked in history and finish up. The Unova region was done, and I could finally relax. I conquered one of the hardest Pokemon mainline games, to my knowledge, and was ready to retire. So let's go to Undella Town and rest and... Unova is one of the greats in my opinion. It makes me nervous for the Black and White potential follow-ups, but I'm glad the game's got the reception it deserves in the community and didn't get left to the wayside. But where does that take us now? Well, I'm in the process of trying to get something to work, but it's gonna take time and it's probably gonna be a lot harder than I expect. For now, I'll probably do what I've been doing, and if I can figure out anything by the time this goes live, I'll let you know. But if you like what you saw, why not leave a like and subscribe to let me know? And if you think Black and White are the worst games and a terrible game to end on, let me know in the comments. But until next time, stay safe out there.